Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Ask Leah. And wow, have I got a doozy episode for you tonight. The three questions that have come in through this week are a bit different to normal, and they all relate to personal relationships. So there's a bit of crossover between them, but they're three cracking questions about some really difficult situations. So I look forward to answering them tonight. Hello, Cal. Glad you can join me. Let's get into it. Okay, so the first question comes from someone who I have worked with a bit over an extended period of time, and they are doing really well at trying to change their mindset. They'd identified that they'd been living from a victim mindset for quite a long time, and to their credit, they are doing an amazing job at really taking control of their life and looking at the positive changes they can make. But the question that they sent in was, is it possible to be in an environment that you don't like, but after a period of time, it becomes safe? And even though you don't like the environment and don't like the situation, because it's safe and what you know, it's almost comfortable. And the reason the person sent this question in was because they've noticed that their partner seems to have become really comfortable in their life and their business. And every time she tries to raise something with him about something that might be a positive step for their business or a positive change, he absolutely just shuts that down straight away and dismisses it and says, look, it'll never work, not interested, not going to happen. So the answer to that is, yeah, absolutely. When we become comfortable with something, even if we don't like it, and hello to those who have just joined in, even if we don't like it, if we have become comfortable with the situation, anything outside of that can be scary. So even if we're not happy, even if we don't like it, it's better than the unknown. And I'm not saying that I agree that it's better, but often that's the mentality that happens. It's better than the unknown. So we stick to our comfort zone because it's comfortable. And even though it might be shit, we know that shit. And it's, the outside is scary. So with that said, how does she go about having a conversation with her husband and potentially getting him to take on board some of the suggestions she has? I've got a few ideas here. The first thing, as difficult as it is to put your judgment and frustration in the back seat and to seek first to understand, then to respond. Now, it shows a great level of awareness that you already can see that he's in his comfort zone and that's what's going on for him. So that's an incredible step in the first place, to see it's not about him trying to be a jerk and shut you down. He has got really comfortable with where he's at. So I really encourage you to seek first to understand before you try to respond, and to go at that conversation from a real point of empathy and compassion, even though you might be frustrated as hell. It's recognizing that to get him to engage, you getting frustrated and angry isn't going to help. So I encourage you to, say things like, okay, well, I really want to understand where you're coming from with this. What is it that you don't think is a good idea? And look, if he's just dismissive and says, well, the whole idea is crap, it's just rubbish, don't want to do it, it's then really gently prompting him to get more specific. So, okay, yep, I hear what you're saying, because we all want to be heard. I hear what you're saying, but what specifically is it about it that you don't like? Because I really want to understand. So you're not coming at it aggressively like, well, why don't you think it's a good idea? Help me understand here. I really am trying to understand. Now, after you've done that, or actually, no, let's step back. Before you've done that, before you even raise the idea with him in the first place, what I encourage you to do is to do the thinking first. So before, you know, he's in this space at the moment and he's struggling to take things on board. So if you have an idea that you want to raise with him, do the thinking first and play devil's advocate. Put yourself in his shoes and think to yourself, right, how's he likely to shoot this down? What are the holes that he's likely to see in it? Identify them yourself and see if you can come up with responses to them. See if you can come up with counters or evidence, examples to support your argument, so that then when you raise the issue with him in the first place, you can cover off those questions that he's likely to have in the way you present it. You know, so you might say, you know, hey, I've been thinking that this could be a really good idea for the business. Now, I know you'll probably have concerns about X, Y, Z, and I've done my research there. So this, and present that in a way that is, you know, really warm, compassionate and understanding. Now, at the end of the day, he still might not be in a position where he can step out of his comfort zone. The best thing that you can continue to do is what you are already doing, which is modeling this awesome behavior. And I am so proud of you for doing this awesome behavior of you taking control of your life and making choices about how you choose to respond. Now, he will probably find that quite threatening initially because it's different behavior for you and it's different behavior to what he's doing himself. But if you come at it from empathy and warmth and you keep modeling that great behavior, hopefully he will come along for the ride too. Hello to everyone else who has joined me. Okay, second question tonight, another doozy. How can you effectively communicate your concerns and needs to a person who lies by omission and can't bring themselves to apologise for the impact they have on others? Now, when I got this question, I did seek out some more information to help give me some context, and it has to do with a couple that is separated and there are kids involved. And this person feels like their ex-husband is often intentionally omitting information when communicating things about their kids. And unfortunately, it's often resulting in issues that could have been avoided if that information had been there in the first place. So it really doesn't sound like a great situation to be in. And here was my advice back. Again, of course, all of the advice I give is fairly general in nature because I don't have all the context, so I can give ideas, but I can't give you a hard, fast go-to plan. But I can certainly present some ideas for you to consider. So in this case, it does sound like there's passive aggressive communication going on, bit of manipulation to, you know, maybe omit things so it makes you look like the bad guy. You know, perhaps your ex-husband is feeling threatened. Perhaps they feel like, you know, you're always the good, got it together person and they feel like they're always made to be the bad guy. So by behaving in this way, you know, it might bring you down a peg or two. I'm not saying it's right because it's not. Passive aggressive communication does my head in. It's so manipulative and destructive. But, you know, wearing the empathy hat, that may be what's going on. So the first thing I would suggest is not getting sucked into it. And bloody hell, that's hard when you're dealing with someone who's passive aggressive, because that sort of behavior is so infuriating and destructive that it does suck you in quickly, and it's really easy to drop down to the other person's level. That doesn't do anyone any favors. So I really encourage you to do your best not to get sucked in. That doesn't mean you excuse the bad behavior though. My advice would be not to get into a conversation with him about it in the heat of the moment when there's a conflict, because that's only ever going to end badly. And chances are that's actually playing into their hands, because if they're omitting information to create an issue, they want you to blow up so that then they can go, see, they're the psycho, I was trying to be reasonable. And that's how passive aggressive often plays out. So don't do it in the moment. Don't do it when there is a conflict. But I do suggest instigating a conversation with him. And when you do that, not in a time of conflict, it is really putting the kids as the common ground on the table. And it can be, hey, I wanted to have a chat with you about, we both want what's best for the girls. Obviously, we both genuinely want what's best for the girls. And look, we might not agree. We might not even like each other, and that's fine. But we both want what's best for the girls. And to be able to do what's best for the girls, we need to be able to communicate with each other in a way that's effective. So keeping in mind that what's best for the girls is both of our aim here. How can we do that? How can we have conversations and communicate in a way where we both get the information we need? And then what I would do is say to him, what do you need from me? And then listen. Now, you might not like what you hear. You might not like it at all, but it's really important that you listen. What do you need from me? And then you be prepared and have done the thinking first to say, right, okay, what I need from you is this. If we're doing something on the weekend or something's happened, I really need all of the information because I want to do what's best for the girls. Now, he might not be up for this conversation at all. He might still, and passive-aggressive people often aren't. They get very defensive, try to shut it down. But if you come at it from a super reasonable angle where you are calm and you keep reiterating, look, this isn't about us. This is about what's best for the kids. It doesn't matter if we disagree or don't like each other. It's what's best for the kids, and we've always got to keep that in mind. It's going to be bloody hard to argue with that. Okay, really, really hard if you're coming at it from that angle. So I encourage you, give it a shot. It is not an easy situation. You can only try and do your best. Third question tonight. Okay, a friend got out of a toxic relationship. Okay, so this friend had been in a toxic relationship. The friend is a male and the partner was the female. And when they were together, his mental state really deteriorated, and both his physical and mental health got really affected. And he was not nice to be around, didn't engage with his family much, really withdrew and shut off. And, this is really common behaviour in any toxic relationship, domestic violence, but even, emotional manipulation. And so he was not fun to be around, but it all came to a head and they ended up breaking up. And after the breakup, he started to really improve and engage with family again, and he was getting his physical and mental health back on track. And those around him and this friend, they were really excited and really happy, and they'd all had conversations with him before about this partner and how they didn't think she was very good for him, and how it was so great to see him improving, and they'd had all these conversations, and you all know where this is going. The girlfriend has come crawling back, and it looks like he's going to go back to her. And the question that the friend had for me was, can I say something? Can I say something to him, because I can see where this is going. It's a train wreck. I don't want to be around this girl ever again because she makes me feel awful about myself. She's going to ruin his life. I just want to shake him. Should I say something or should I butt out? And I responded to this person privately today as well. And look, it's a really difficult situation, but my advice is really clear here. And I know it's not often what we want to hear, but the answer is no, you shouldn't say anything. And there's a few reasons for this. He knows how you feel, for starters. You've had this conversation before. He well knows that people don't like this girl. When you raise it and say, like, what the hell are you doing going back to her, or anything like that, all you do is set up isolation again, because what will happen is it feeds into the manipulation of this girlfriend. Because if you go to him and say, what are you doing? She's no good for you, rah, 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 he probably goes back to her and says that. She then says, see, none of your family like me. I told you so. They all hate me. And so then he starts withdrawing again. She starts isolating him again. And, you know, this is the hallmarks of, you know, emotional manipulation, emotional abuse, and often goes with domestic violence as well. You know, isolate, bring you away, so no one likes you, and it just plays into their hands. So I get that you want to say something, but saying it to him is only going to make him feel worse about himself. He knows he shouldn't go back to her, but just like we were talking about it in the answer to the first question, it might be his comfort zone, and even though he knows it's shit, it's what he knows. So what do you do in this situation? I heard some great advice a couple of years ago now from someone who had been in a domestic violence relationship, and they said to her, what do you wish people had done? And she said, look, everyone told me that I should leave him, and I already knew that, and so it made me feel worse about myself. What I needed people to do was to build me up, because I needed to get to a point where I believed that I really was strong enough to walk away. And again, this is not specific advice. This is really general, and it doesn't work for everyone. However, what this person said was, you know, this woman had said at the time was, I needed people to build me up. I needed my self-esteem built because I felt like rubbish. So what I said to this person today was, hey, rather than speak to him about, oh, what the hell are you doing going back to her, focus on building him up. Focus on his self-esteem, you know, focus on telling him, hey, how great he's been looking and how awesome it is that he's been exercising again and you've noticed a real difference. And, you know, it's been so fantastic seeing him at family events and having great chats with him, and it's so wonderful to see him back in that space. And focus on building him up. Focus on building his self-esteem again, and hopefully he will get to a point where he can see it's not the right thing for him. But he's an adult and we make our own choices. And you saying something will only damage the situation. Unfortunately, sometimes we just have to love these people in our life and support them rather than victim blame them. Support them, love them, and hope that they get there. In terms of the effect this person has on you, because you said that you have a reaction to them and they're so draining and toxic for you as well, absolutely limit your contact with them as a couple. You know, still stay engaged with him as an individual, but don't be seeking to do things as couples when you have that reaction to them. So that would be my thoughts for tonight. Like I said, 3 pretty doozy topics on personal relationships tonight. There's not a right or wrong with a lot of this. A lot of it I am giving fairly general advice because I don't have the full context, but hopefully I'm giving you some ideas that you can consider about different ways of approaching things. Often with these things, the main issue is you being in control of yourself and your emotions, because if you're not going to react in the best way. So really go back to controlling your controllables. And what can we control? We can control us. We can control our behavior, our response. We have a choice about that. We can't control other people as much as we'd like to sometimes. We can only control us. So that's it from me tonight. Related topic to all of this morning on Gippsland FM, I had a great chat to Bryce about the topic of forgiveness. I will post the audio for that soon. Thank you to those 3 brave souls that did submit those cracking questions tonight. If you have a question for next week, please put it in the comments below or send it through via private message, and I will do my best to answer that next week. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Please leave your comments in the feed. I love hearing what you think of these episodes so that I know whether they're valuable to you or not. And I look forward to catching you next week. Cheers, everyone. Have a great night.